Hello, everyone, and welcome back to well, it looks like a very sunny Saturday evening. Um, my name is Mike, and we have here Tom helping us around for today as we are going through the very legendary and tricky track that is Monaco.
Very excited for this. The jewel in the crown, as we say. Um, I think this could be a banger of a race. I think safety cars, we might even get red flags, qualifying as well. I think this could be extremely exciting.
Yeah, we have seen already this summer a load of action that we saw. Just last week, we had if you guys were surviving after a very extended Canada Grand Prix, you know, all we need is some action to change up the order, and we saw that with Dasher getting a little bit compromised due to some contact he had. And the thing about Monaco we're going to be seeing is it is a balance of driver performance as well as how much risk are they willing to take, and that's going to be the biggest thing today. Can they cope going close to the walls consistently without causing a number of incidents, because that's something we're definitely going to be expecting today.
We're going to see a very different dynamic, I think, to last week. We had some great wheel-to-wheel racing at Canada, brought on by the fact we had changeable conditions as well. I think this is going to be not processional like it might be in real life, but I think this is going to be a much more tactical race from our drivers. I think they're going to have to think quite a lot, especially, well, you've got to think quite hard to keep it out of the barriers in the first place.
Yeah, and also as well, just like in real life, qualifying is going to be incredibly important. Track position is what usually wins races here. So it's going to be up to the drivers to really push themselves to get the best times possible without having to retire early in the session because, like I said, the walls are close, the damage is real, and if you damage your car too much during qualifying, that's going to be done and there is no improvement you can make. So qualifying is going to be really important. So you guys do not want to miss as we are going to be going in a minute or two. Anything you want to say, Tom, really going into qualifying here?
You've put me on the spot. I'm hoping we don't see anyone end up in the harbour.
Yeah, that would definitely be a real Grand Prix moment for anyone who's actually watched that film. Honestly, for me, is I want to see what our top people, Matty Mumu, Dasher, Joe. We're going to see how well they cope, and the Principality, and seeing how they can jostle when we have a lot of cars on track, because traffic will be very, very important when it comes to Monaco. So, yeah, we're going to see how it goes into, and I think right now they are just ready up in the lobby now. So, not long to go.
Wonder if we'll have any adverse weather conditions again. We've
Oh
seen
god,
it. We've seen it in Spa the last couple of days in real life. It's been monsoonial. Monsoonial,
oh,
is that a word? I don't know. Monsoonial.
oh god. Just got some news. Qualifying is at night as well, just to make it a little bit more
Excellent.
interesting. Oh no.
I would say that. I would say Monaco at night is one of the most pretty things you can see in a video game. It's so good. Um, See them
I've
flying through swimming pool, flying through the first sector. This is going to look incredibly nice.
I've heard things about this because the one thing this game can do is you can change the actual conditions of the race compared to how it is in the real world. So nighttime, I've heard, is interesting because all the lights actually come on. So it's gonna be a surprise for me. You've probably seen it yourself. It's gonna be really interesting. Something a bit different for a change.
Well, I on F1 2022. I did a 100% race around Monaco at night, which was difficult, let's say. Um, yeah, I think it's going to be. It's Monaco. It's got to be special. We don't do Monaco very often, if at all, I believe, in the BUSR series.
Probably for the better, honestly.
Well, you don't know. As a driver, I would love to do Monaco more. It's a driver's track, but yeah, maybe for carnage, it's probably best we avoid it sometimes. I think we are getting ready to go though, and yes, we are. 18 minutes awaits us for our qualifying session. Only 11 cars this week, so the majority of our drivers will be getting in the points.
Yeah, I don't know how many people have been scared off due to Monaco. Hopefully they don't. Hopefully, it's more because of personal reasons. But either way, we're going to be seeing our first few cars come out. We see a certain Wilson in the Aston Martin just going on their outlap here. So yeah, we're going to have some fun going up the hill here and going into our first few corners. Um, do you know what, Tom? I'm going to let you have a little talk through as we're going to see the drivers warming up their tires and get himself through the various corners that we see here on the track.
Yeah, well, I probably threw you under the bus a little bit last week by making you do the first 5 laps. So I'll take the ropes this week. We'll get to the end of this outlap first though from Wilson, who I don't believe is the first car on track. There is a Williams in front of him. Which looked like it was on hard tyres. I'm also noticing it's not quite as nighttime as we were thinking. That looks like a set of white hard tyres on that Williams. It does. So that's Charlotte, who's going to be going for an interesting strategy here of building up through this session, not using those soft tyres early. So I think the Aston Martin of Wilson behind is going to be a lot quicker on this first flying lap. But we're going to get ready, though, as we go through the final couple of corners on board with the Williams driver, as we're going to get this first lap of Monaco underway. And it's a great lap, isn't it? As we come up to start the lap now, got a car coming out of the pits on the right-hand side as we come up towards Sandoval. Take it in second gear, trying to avoid this Red Bull who isn't getting out of the way particularly well, unfortunately, for Charlotte. So going to get a little bit blocked as we come up through Beaurivage and into Massenet. Very easy to lose the car on the outside, so got to try and pierce through the barriers nicely. Red Bull gets out of the way. It was a little bit blocked as we come through the first sector split, 19.8 as we come through Mirabeau and into the Lowe's hairpin, down to neutral there a little bit. It must have been a small mistake. Slowest corner on the calendar though, and it's very tricky to get the traction down. Those hard tyres not going to be helping as we come up through Portier. It's been a pretty clean lap so far, a little bit snappy on the rear as we come up through the infamous tunnel. It used to be a DRS zone in here once upon a time, no more as we come through to the Nouvelle chicane. Not very new anymore, since we've had it for about 50 years or so. But as we come up to what is my favourite corner on the calendar, I believe, to back, fourth gear. Sometimes you can get it in fifth, just throw it in through the left-hander and then you're spat straight out into the swimming pool section. And it's a very fast middle sector. And it's been pretty clean, a little bit of a bump of the walls. We come up towards Rascasse and into Antoniano's to complete our first lap of Monaco. Nice and tidy. It's very difficult to get the power down coming out of the final corner, but as we come up to the line, it is going to be a 1 minute 15.5 for the Williams, and that is immediately bettered by about 4 seconds by her teammate.
Yeah, we're going to be seeing here, a very big difference already in the drivers' times already. This is a real drivers' track. The best drivers are going to try and extract the most out of these cars because, like I said, the more you have to work out with the wrist, the better it's going to get. And that's a 109.6. Incredible lap coming out of Matti Mumu there.
Straight on the pace, which is very difficult to do at Monaco, it has to be said. Alpha coming through Rascasse and into Antoniano's now. 4 times on the board. Dasher has slotted into second in the McLaren, just over half a second back. Here comes the Alpha Tauri up to the line. What's it going to be? It's a 10.6, a second down. We're going to be expecting, well, Matti Mumu has disproven what I'm about to say, but I'm expecting to see drivers build up their pace through the session. I don't think we're going to see the fastest laps straight away, as Joe is almost a second down on his teammate, actually. So that's definitely a conservative first run. A second difference between the Mercedes drivers there. You can see the Williams going nose to tail. CRM Doodle on an outlap in the Red Bull as well. I'd like to get on board with Geek if we can, who I think is going to be very interesting to watch around this track. Here he is, just behind his teammate. That looked very neat and tidy coming through Antonino's. Up to the line, what's it going to be? And it is, well, it's a 111 flat, so a little bit down. But, you can do that at Monaco. You've got a lot of time to build your pace up, and you don't want to be throwing into a barrier within the first 5 minutes of the session.
Yeah, it's all going to be about trying to trying to measure your risk throughout the session. Getting those banker laps in. We actually saw in that run that you just had a run through. Traffic is a factor, and so trying to get that lap hooked up and making sure that you're not running into those sort of outlapped cars is going to be really, really vitally important. Thank goodness we don't have as many cars, so traffic won't be as much as an issue, but it will be something as we are going to be seeing Alpha go back into the pits as they're going to be looking to put on some new tires.
I think we will be seeing a lot of I was expecting we would see a lot of continuous laps from people, just because the tyre wear can be pretty high. as Doodle there has been invalidated, so I'd expect him to go again, getting a little bit out of shape coming through the final corner. But yeah, I would be expecting some, or I would have been expecting a lot of laps in a row, maybe fill the car up a little bit just to try and get into a rhythm, because that's what Monaco's all about at the end of the day. It's a rhythm track. You've got to try and get into a groove as quickly as possible. That's what Geek looks like he's going to be doing, having a cool down and going again, trying to better that 11-0 we saw before. Mad Dog back out onto the track as well. GWS I think is going to be coming back into the pits, and he is. So that is our first runs completed, and I believe SJ Wilson and CRM Doodle all invalidated, which it's not a massively dangerous track for track limits, as Doodle gets very out of shape, or Wilson, sorry, gets hugely out of shape through the tunnel. You definitely don't want to be doing that. But yeah, there are a few places where track limits could come into it, through the swimming pool section, definitely, and maybe through the Nouvelle chicane as well, because it is so tight on entry and exit.
Yeah, and also as well, like when you're going into uh what's it called, turn 7, that one as well is also very easy to invalidate, because you want to get the car as much as you can over onto the right side, running onto onto that curbing. But you can't take too much of it, or else you could bottom out the car and slow it down, or you could invalidate, which is the worst case. As we're going to be seeing CRM Doodle come over there, 1 at 11.6, and we're going to be seeing a lot of cars come back into the pits. They're going to be looking to again put out some new tires and go for the next runs, as Mad Dog is going to be starting his lap, trying to improve from a P7 after a relatively successful sort of spray of results that we saw in last round.
Yeah, he's been consistent. I think he was involved in, that was SJ, I think it was, getting a corner cutting penalty at turn 1. That is the ultimate thing you don't want to be doing. Mad Dog there going purple through the first sector. I'm expecting these times to start tumbling a little bit.
Yeah, we're just seeing the cars going through the slowest point below the Grand Hotel hairpin, or the lowest hairpin. Slowest corner on the calendar. Cars are going full lock in first gear. And, a lot of these cars actually bring their own suspension in real life just to cope with the tightness of Monaco. It's definitely a different place compared to anywhere else that we see on the calendar.
Well, if somebody came to the FIA these days with a track like this, there's no way they would be accepted. Well, was it Nigel Mansell that said it was like trying to ride your bike around your kitchen or dining room? That is what it
Mm.
feels like. Just centimeters away from the barrier. Mad Dog's going to come up to complete his second flying lap, finds 7/10 of a second to jump up into the top 5. Still 1.3 seconds down on Matty Mumu, who looks, well, a class above at the moment. SJ, with that invalidation we saw earlier going through Saint Devot, I think this is going to be another flying lap. Yeah, got to be careful into Saint Devot. If anyone knows that reference from previous F1 games, uh, hopefully I pick up a bit of credit for that. Rip Jeff, our former engineer.
Oh dear. Even in, I think it was an F2 last year, was even said on broadcast. So
No heroics into Saint Devot, please. That's what it is.
yeah. Even I have played previous F1 games and heard that, and oh dear, Sandavot is one of those corners where you want to give as much speed as possible, and because of the nature of the modern Sandavot corner, it's very easy to run over that curbing and get the invalidation, and it is so crushing
Oh,
because you spend a whole lap setting it up, and all you have to do is invalidate on your very first corner.
speaking of
And
invalidating, Mad Dog is going to be absolutely fuming with that. Was purple sector 1 and sector 2, 7/10 up on his previous best. He's going to be raging because that would have definitely put him on the front row, potentially get particularly close to Matty Mumu as well. Here is Joe though, going for his second flying lap as we jump now to SJ coming through Raskas, a little bit wide again. We've seen that on a lot of his flying laps in the Alfa Romeo, getting a little bit too deep into that penultimate corner, and as we come up to the line, it's only going to be a 1:15.2, and that is not going to be good enough if you want to get yourself off the back row of the grid for this race.
Yeah, Raskas is always one of those hard corners because, the corner invites you in, but you really want to be turning a little bit later so that you can really get the car in a straight line, so you can get yourself up into that last two corner section. So for that reason, it's all about trying to get the nose of the car in the right place at the right time. There's a lot of precision that goes into riding around this track here, and it's showing already. Some drivers are already struggling.
Someone who is not struggling, though, is Matimu, who finds just under another tenth of a second to raise the bar even higher. Dasher with a big improvement on his last lap, though, found half a second. So on a 9.7 is much closer to the Mercedes. Here is the other Mercedes coming up to the line, and Joe still in the 10s. It's only a 10.2. So yeah, still 6/10 down in third. And a little bit of no man's land, it has to be honest. Half a second behind Dasher in front, nearly 4/10 ahead of Alpha behind. And we're waiting for Geek really to try and put that representative time in an 11.0. That's nowhere near good enough for Geek, who will be looking to challenge for, at worst, really, the podium places in this race.
Yeah, I mean, do you know what? It's already, as we have already a car in the wall. Looks like
SJ,
Raskas, isn't it?
yes, again, SJ in the Alfa Romeo, just struggling to pick that braking point for the penultimate corner. It's very difficult, of course, because it is blind on the inside, and what you do need to make sure you do as well is not clip that inside barrier. We saw, I think it was Charles Leclerc doing it in 2019. I think one of the Saubers a few years before that as well did it in the real life race. Very easy to do, clipping the inside wall, as it is at the Nouvelle chicane as well. Joe, we can see on an in-lap, 2 seconds down. So, yeah, it's Mati Mumu and Dasher pretty clear at the front, with SJ just struggling to get that perfect lap in at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I would also say that's going to be really interesting, you can see Matty Moomer and Dasher pretty much near each other in time. So as we're going to be going into these final stages of qualifying, be looking out for those two fighting at the front, because whoever can get the first place position is going to be very likely to win this race. There might be a little bit of strategy at play that might change it up a little bit, but this is probably one of those important qualifyings in the entirety of the summer championship. So these two are going to be neck and neck going into the last 5.5 minutes of this race, this qualifying.
Alpha bouncing over the curves through the swimming pool section and getting out of shape coming through Anthony Nose as well. I think that's probably going to affect the lap time. Yeah, ending up, what's that? I can't quite see. I think that was 2/10 down on his previous lap. He's looked pretty comfortable though in the start of this session. A little bit of a scruffy final sector, but up in fourth at the moment. It's a good start, and I think there will be a little bit more time in there as the track conditions get better. Here is the person we want to be watching at the moment though. It is Geek on his second flying lap, or second run I should say. We'll look at the sector split as we go through the first sector. And I think that's a third of a second up, so this is definitely going to be in the ballpark with our leading trio at the moment.
Yeah, Geek is going to be wanting to get a representative lap in. He has struggled across the last 13 minutes of his session. This is going to be a chance. You see a little bit of kick on the rear there going into Portier as they're going through the tunnel and down into probably one of my favorite sections itself, the Nouvelle chicane.
Oh, that was over the sausage curbs, and that is going to be an invalidated lap time. We're seeing a few more than I actually expected to see, because usually, well, at the start of qualifying Monaco, you want to leave a little bit of margin on the table so you can build up through the session, like I said earlier, get that rhythm going so you're in a better place come the final 2 minutes where the track is going to be at his best. I wonder if he is going to back off and go again. It looks like, or it might be a second, or yeah, a second cooldown lap to recharge the battery and go again. We'll see what his first sector split is as he's put off by Williams coming out of the pits there. That was, I think it was Charlotte, I believe, or it might have been Mad Dog. Yes, it was Mad Dog, just exiting the pits. Nothing that Mad Dog really could have done about that, to be honest, but a unique way that the Monaco circuit is working. Here he's Geek through the first sector, though, flying through Casino Square, and he said Chicago Square there. I don't know where I got that from, but it's a faster first sector than we saw on the last lap. 4/10 up now, so there's definitely a lot of time in Geek at the moment to try and trouble the front row, which is what his aim is going to be.
Yeah, Geek has been struggling a lot, and it really is making this. He's going to have to try and get that entry into Nouvelle properly. As he goes into Nouvelle, he looks a little cleaner there. It is valid,
Very
which is the main
nice.
thing, as we're going to be going down in the back corner, probably one of the fastest corners of the track. Do love it as they throw it through that chicane there into the swimming pool chicane here.
Oh, it's millimetre perfect. Millimetre perfect. It's like watching Max Verstappen dancing through the Monaco streets.
Oh,
But he comes
no!
back in. He obviously wanted to get the new tyres on. He was about 7/10 up, I think it was. Not going purple, but yeah, wanting to refuel and get those new tyres on for a final run. Here is Charlotte, currently improving by not a lot in the first sector, about 1/4 of a tenth. We'll have to see what the second sector time is. Currently down in 9th at the moment on a 12.4. We'll be looking to try and improve, but does what Lando Norris did in the real life session, clouts the barrier on the exit of to back. And I think that is probably going to be session over for the Williams driver, and 9th place at best, which is not ideal on a circuit like this. Yes, coming into the pits now, that will be some front wing damage, and that probably is session over.
Yeah, it's very easy to do. You know, if your car is not quite in the right way, or you haven't entered the back corner just a little bit too early or late, it can end in disaster. And you saw it there, Charlotte just hitting the wall. Thank goodness these cars aren't made of paper mache, and you can get it back to the pits. And one thing is, we are going to be seeing Matty Mumu starting out. It's going to be his final, probably his final. He can have another lap in if he wants to, as
Got
going
to
to be
be
going
careful of the
into.
Alpha Tower in front of him, though. I think this Alpha Tower is on an outlap. Alpha it is, just going slowly, is dancing through the streets. Look at him drifting through Casino Square. He's found another 10th of a second through the first sector as we come into the Lowe's hairpin. Try and get on the pavement is what they tell you. Avoids it, but it's a clean run so far as we come up towards Mirabeau. Yeah, looking nicely. This is what a start to the lap this has been. Car on the inside. Hopefully doesn't get distracted as we come through the tunnel and up to the Nouvelle chicane, where we've seen a lot of drivers struggling so far to get the car turned in. You're seeing them bounce over that yellow sausage curb. Matty Muir does it absolutely perfectly, inch perfect on the exit with the wall that sticks out on the left-hand side. Through to back, clip the curb nicely on the inside. This is a beautiful lap from the Mercedes driver, nearly a 10th and a half up, flying through the swimming pool section now, through into Rascasse, which has been troublesome for a lot of our drivers. It's really nice again. Going through the final corner now of Anthony Knows. This has been an incredible lap around Monaco. What's the time going to be? It's a 9.599, improves by 9 milliseconds. It wasn't actually lost a little bit of time in that final sector, so it's going to open the door for Dasher. But it's so good to watch them flying through these streets, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, also as well, Matty Mooma getting a purple sector 1, really setting up that lap and trying his best to get somewhere out of it. Geek is going to be coming out. We've been seeing Geek is
Hits
already
the
hitting
barrier.
into Sanderfoot. Come on, man, you need a banker lap to get yourself the positions. This is the most important qualifying, and you don't want to be messing it up.
Doesn't look like he's got any front wing damage, visual at least. We'll see what the sector time is. It's going to be down, you'd expect. Yeah, only a 10th or half a 10th found, so 3.5 tenths down on what he had earlier in the session. So I fear that Geek is going to be a little bit out of position going into the race in 10 minutes or so. Looking further forward, Dasher and Joe, I believe, are on a flying lap. I think Joe's just crossed the line now to start a flying lap, in fact. And needs to find 7/10 of a second. Checkered flag is out, so these are the times that have got to count. We've seen Matty Mumu's hand. What can the rest bring? SJ is finished down in 11th at the moment. Yeah, Joe not improving. I think he must have gone again. Matty Mumu crosses the line. That is his session over as well. Provisional pole at the moment. I don't think a lot of drivers are improving. Alpha, you can see there, half a second down. I think this might be our running order. We've got a yellow flag through the middle sector. It's the Williams going slowly as Geek, I believe it is now, coming through the final corner. Alpha over the line. Geek has found a little bit more time. Goes 4th only though, and he'll be disappointed because I think the front row was very possible. But look at this. Doodle's found a second so far. This could be challenging for pole. Oh no, it's an 11.6. Thought it was a 10.6. False alarm. This is going to be a very respectable time though. It's a 10.2. Gets ahead of his teammate and up into 3rd. Excellent lap as GWS should complete the times. It is a 12.1. Oh no, Wilson over the line as well with an 11.0. And that, I believe, as Dasher has actually pinned it in the wall through the swimming pool section. So that is going to be the front row sorted. Joe does get that timing in the end. A 9.9, but 4/10 down as Charlotte will complete the session. And I didn't quite see what it was, but it is Matty Mumu who takes pole. Looks so comfortable throughout that entire session. Dasher was hot on his heels for quite a while, but in the end pitched it into the barrier in the swimming pool section. It's Joe starting from 3rd.
Talk about precision. Matty Mumu showing that relatively, I mean, it's not the most comfortable when the walls are so close, but when you see a good lap being made here at Monaco, it looks precise, it looks easy. And I think Matty Mumu has shown there at even being just a tenth is massive here. And yeah, we're seeing not a surprise for pole position.
Yeah, not too much of a surprise from what we've seen so far this season, but a brilliant session, and hopefully that sets us up nicely for the race. While we've got this little interlude between qualifying and the race, we're going to have a look at our partners in special effects and see what they do to help people in the gaming industry.
Nobody likes being left out. That's why Special Effect are helping people with physical disabilities to play video games. But this isn't just about having fun. The gaming setups we create are personalised, so people can play to the very best of their abilities. And that opens the door to inclusion and independence, confidence and creativity. Help us level the playing field and create more magical gaming moments. Because it's everyone's turn to play.
Yes, a fantastic cause, I think you'll agree, and very proud to be partnered with Special Effect. But moving back to the action, we thought we were going to have a night qualifying session. I have just been told that we have got a night race, so we are going to mix it up a little bit with the time of day. And after what we've seen in qualifying, I am very much looking forward to this.
Yeah, we finally get to see this nighttime showing of Monaco, which is going to be very scenic. If Monaco has not already been scenic, but at night, I don't know if it's going to make too much of a changes. I think we'll get to see the cars glisten a little bit more, which is really nice with the modern F1 games. They do look very nice.
Yeah, visually we'll have a few differences. I don't know how much it affects it. I think the temperatures, the temperatures would be slightly lower if it was real life. I don't know if that's coded into the game or not, but yeah, first lap's going to be crucial. Cold tyres, I expect. Well, I don't know actually. Strategy would have changed from last year. It might be soft medium. Some people might chance it on mediums lower down. Yeah, I think strategy is going to be very, very apparent because the undercut is going to be incredibly powerful. We saw it last week at Canada, and we've seen it previously in the past as well. Undercut on this game, very strong. This is the track you don't want to get undercut on, because if you get undercut, it's very hard to get that place back. As we are getting ready to go, though, we have 5 red lights, and we are now underway. A bit of a delay as the lights went out. Good start from Matimu. It's actually Dasher on the dirty side of the grid that is under pressure, and it is a Mercedes 1-2 as we sweep through Sandoval. Geek, I think, has had a few issues coming out of turn 1, lost a couple of places to Doodle and Alpha, but it is Matimu streaking clear at the front. Geek and Alpha, I think, are side by side going up through Beau Rivage, and it is the Alpha Tauri that stays ahead of the Red Bull. Maybe not for much longer though, as we go down into Massenet. Down the inside goes Geek on those medium compound tyres, gets that position nicely done, and that is going to be crucial. We've got a car park behind. Look at that. That is exactly what we thought we would get at Monaco. Wilson gets a penalty. Everyone's reversing into each other. Use your mirrors, boys. But yeah, clean at the start, less so further back as we rejoin our leading group.
Yeah, this looks like, this is one of the risks that you see at Monaco. Cars can get lodged, and because these cars are basically the size of minivans, it means that if the car goes sideways, it's very hard to get them back going straight. And we just saw it there, and cars have been compromised by over 8-second gap between Mad Dog and Wilson because of it. It's going to be really damaging, and we'll probably see a lot of different scenarios. Looks like Wilson has put it into the wall to back.
And we have a VSC.
Yeah, this is already our first retirement on lap 1. Attrition rates are always going to be a factor here at Monaco. I don't know how hard it's going to be, but we already have our first retirement as we're going to be seeing our possible race strategies. Honestly, with this race, I could see a 2-stop happening just with the attrition rate that we could be seeing.
Yeah, I think we could be seeing a lot of virtual safety cars and physical safety cars as we go through. But yeah, I didn't quite catch what happened there at Mirabeau. I think someone might have just tagged the back of a car as they sent it up the inside. It's probably the best overtaking point on the first lap because everyone is so bunched together still. But yeah, we've got a little bit of time now just to compose and collect our thoughts as we look at how the order has changed. It is Matamumi, though, the fixture at the front still, as we are racing once again, getting a little bit deep going through the Nouvelle Chicane. GWS has left the session, unfortunately for him. Joe up to second, though, ahead of Dasher. That's going to be crucial. I'm not sure what tyres they're on. I've seen a big mixer as we come through. Medium tyres for both Mercedes cars. Dasher on the hards, so it was definitely critical for Joe to get past the McLaren on the opening lap.
Yeah, you'll see here a lot of drivers going for those medium and hard tires to give you the most amount of options when it comes to uh, what sort of race strategy you want to be on. As we're going to be seeing DRS being enabled, not coming through the section. We only have one DRS zone, which is through that start finish straight there. And we're going to be seeing Geek getting incredibly close, nearly rubbing the tires there as we're going through Casino and going down into Mirabeau. Not many opportunities now, but the next one we're going to be seeing is going to be at the Nouvelle Chicane. So they're going to be keeping as close as possible as we're going to be seeing coming right through the end. It's always really close here. There's a little bit of wiggle coming up from CRM Doodle. Not something you want to be doing, as it looks like Geek is going to be keeping him nice and close. Will he go for the overtake going down into the corner? Ah, he's not quite.
Ooh,
No, he's
bit
touched.
of contact though. Bit of contact
touching.
again. A bit of a love tap as he gets out of shape as well.
Oh dear, come on now. You got to be, you got to be able to overtake, not go in touch, as they're getting really, really close there to the back corner. And yeah, Geek is going to be keeping nice and close here. As again, I don't know how much this medium to hard tire sort of factor is going to be at play. Honestly, track position is going to be important. As long as CRM Doodle can keep the car behind, he's got the advantage in the wear of the tires. And so Geek is going to be a little bit annoyed here with his fresh medium tires getting wrecked every lap, more so than CRM's.
Yeah, he's looking very racy in these early stages, trying to send it around the outside of Massenet we saw on the previous lap. Doodle doing, well, I was saying he's doing a very good job of defending. Geek has sent it down the inside of Mirabeau. We've already seen one car park form here on the opening lap, but the Red Bulls stay as we were, Geek having to sit behind for now. It's going to be crucial for both of their races. Well, yeah, Geek is going to want to get past for his sake, and Doodle's going to want to hold up the medium runners as much as possible. We've got another yellow flag in the final sector, and we have a second virtual safety car. I think that's SJ, who's had some more trials and tribulations down at Rascasse. And for the second time, the Alfa Romeo Sauber is into the pits for a front wing change onto a brand new set of medium tyres, the second new set he has used. And yeah, that's 2 pit stops in 3 laps. Not a great start, it has to be said.
Yeah, the kick-branded car has unfortunately kicked another front wing away, unfortunately, and that's going to be putting him at the bottom, as he's already been in the pits once, and it's going to be another unfortunate, as he is going to be getting lapped very, very soon. And
Geek's got the position, by the way. Geek up ahead of Doodle. We've got another yellow flag, though, and I think that might be for SJ coming out of the pits. Yeah, he was caught napping a little bit there, CRM Doodle, on the restart, and Geek just using the DRS to his advantage, swooping past, and now he's going to chase after Dasher, the other hard tyre runner in the top 3, is SJ trying his best to get out of the way there and doing a pretty decent job, I believe, although I couldn't see behind what was going on. Alpha sticking to them as well, with Mad Dog right behind as well. Got a nice little quartet forming at the moment, but the gap at the front currently 2.5 seconds, and I think both Matimu and Joe will be pretty content with that gap.
Yeah, I mean, this gap between the front and the midfield is starting to open up now. We are going to be seeing drivers trying to get themselves into a rhythm, keep the consistency in lap times, and make sure you're not going back into the pits for the for more than you need to, as we're going to be seeing Perkins come out already. Attrition rates are important, especially as, these cars are going to be getting close to the walls, and sometimes they may be dinging it, as Perkins is trying to get a little bit of wiggles, as he's trying to warm up, but she's going to try and warm up their tires. And yeah, this is going to be one of those races where we're going to be settling down and seeing how the drivers cope, as they're going to be trying to keep that rhythm, keep those tires as fresh as possible, as other drivers are going to be making those mistakes. And you can already see already, we have a 3-second time penalty already for track cuts.
Not ideal, is it? But yeah, Monaco, even though it's only a 50% race, it is like an endurance race. Trying to keep those tyres alive. It's very risky. You're playing a very risky game if you're sat behind the car in front following for so long. That's why Geek was so desperate to get past his teammate, because sometimes people can be a little bit unpredictable, especially on a video game with a bit of net code thrown in there as well. So yeah, if you can get yourself a little bit of track space, run your own race. If you need to overtake someone, try and do it quickly, which admittedly is a lot easier said than done. And Mad Dog is a prime example of this, going to be starting to get a little bit frustrated, stuck behind the rear wing of that Alpha in the Alpha Tauri in front. as he clatters the curves. Looks like he hit the wall maybe on the exit of the swimming pool section. We'll have to see if he's got any damage. I don't think he'll be coming into the pits on those hard compound tyres for quite a while. But yes, continues on. And, well, we'll be looking to try and get this position done. But, yeah, it's going to be pretty difficult as Geek is now caught up to the back of Dasher in the fight for third.
Yeah, I don't envy these drivers doing it. Honestly, when I used to play in F1 2021, if I saw Monaco on the calendar, I just press skip. I just let it run because I did not want to go through it. It was so difficult. So I don't envy the drivers trying to get themselves through this as SJ is back in the pits again.
Going to run out of tyres at this rate. Run out of
Yeah.
front wings potentially as well. It's not the ideal start. A red flag would definitely help his cause, but I think he's going to be destined for a day at the back, unfortunately. But that's what Monaco can do to you sometimes. If you get it wrong once, it's very hard to get that rhythm back once you lose it.
I always feel that with Monaco, especially in these games, it is brutal with the damage as well. And drivers are keeping relatively good pace at the moment. We're seeing Matti Muri creating a bit of a gap, 2.8 seconds to second place. Again, both of them running the more optimal strategy, which is the medium into hard tire strategy, that single stop strategy. We will see whether or not it is important, as we see a yellow flag coming there at Tabak, probably a little bit of a squirm coming out of the that corner there. Not Tabak, it's wrong. Not Tabak, it was Portier. Anyway, we're going to keep on with it as we're going to be seeing a certain Charlotte Perkins trying to keep that car as clean as possible. It's already been in the pits already, as you can see, with that slightly newer medium tire, as not been the best of days, but at the moment, keeping it clean, keeping it going, and yeah, we'll definitely be having a look around about halfway through this race is when we're going to be seeing that medium to hard strategy pay off. And honestly, yeah, the undercut here is very strong, especially in this game.
Yeah, a lot of those guys towards the back are going to feel pretty hard done by just getting caught up in that first corner or first lap incident through Mirabeau. It was quite funny to see a car park form. I haven't seen that in a BUSR race for a little while. You obviously see it quite a lot in F1 open lobbies as Geek getting very out of shape coming through Saint-Devote and also tapping the barrier a little bit. Looking so racy at the moment, trying to make up for the mistakes of qualifying. He'll be thinking that he probably could have been on the front row at least with the pace that was shown, but didn't manage to get that clean lap in and is stuck in a bit of traffic still. The gap to the front, though, isn't too severe at the moment. He's about 5 seconds off the lead, or it might be 6 seconds actually off the lead. And yeah, very much still in this race. 30 laps to go, of course. Plenty of time for anything to happen. And I will say as well, anything probably will happen.
Yeah, I mean, Geek has unfortunately got himself a little bit out of place from the leaders because of that qualifying. Like we said, qualifying is extremely important here as we're seeing another rough against the barrier. Geek, honestly, I have a feeling, I don't know if it's actually what's in his head right now, but he's trying to push as much as he can. That frustration of I can't get through this driver. I know I'm faster. And sometimes it does play on you, and sometimes you push it a little bit too much. And we can see here, Geek is really, really trying to push as DRS comes into Wooey making close to Saint-Devote. No, not at the moment. Honestly, Geek has to really keep his head down, and there will be a little bit of strategy at play, as the longer he stays behind Dasher, the more these tyres are going to be used, and the more chances of damage occurring because of this pushing. And you can see it. The rear is wiggling around a lot in that Red Bull.
I would be seriously thinking about some kind of undercut within the next couple of laps. We'll just cut away from that briefly because we've got a lovely little scrap through the Nouvelle Chicane, and I believe the Williams of Charlotte has got in front of the Ferrari of GWS. It looked a bit of a send, it must be said, but completed cleanly, and that is up into 8th place, 47 seconds admittedly behind the other Williams of Mad Dog in front, so I don't think she'll be catching Mad Dog anytime soon. But yeah, nicely done. An overtake at Monaco can be quite rare at times, but yeah, returning to what we were saying earlier, I think Geek should definitely be thinking about some kind of undercut because admittedly he will be going onto the hard tyres, but the undercut's so strong. If he can even gain 5 seconds. He'll be up with Matimumu and Joe, and he'll have track position as well. And with the way Geek drives, I think he'll be able to hold on to that track position for the majority of the race as well. He's done 10 laps on those medium tyres. You'd expect hard tyres should be able to go to the end from here, so I would definitely be thinking about a stop within the next couple of laps.
Yeah, it's going to be down to how many VSCs and safety cars that we're going to be seeing. You know, if we had a look, we've had 2 virtual safety cars already from the crash that we've seen. If we see if this continues, if we keep on getting virtual safety cars, we haven't seen one in a while, but if we do start getting those, Geek must be having a think. If I can take a hard tire, say like lap 15 laps, somewhere around lap 15, so 39 laps, 15, that's about 24 laps. That could be possible. It really depends if we see a safety car. If a safety car comes out and you try to do a hard undercut, it's the end of your race, because you're going to have a massive difference between the cars you've tried to undercut and yourself. So that is going to be the sort of strategy that's going to be potentially thinking in Geek's head. I think Geek right now is more focused on trying to get past Dasher at the moment, but that is the last case scenario we could see here. And honestly, as a driver, I love taking tires to the end of the race. That's what I like.
Safety car.
Oh, just as we say that, this virtual safety car has come out as, I guess that's
SJ looked like he went off there.
Yeah, it looks like.
Oh, sorry, go.
No, it looks like GWS has had a DNF, a clatter into the barriers, and that is going to be the end of their race. They were already having connection issues, which allowed Perkins to get close and, make the overtake in the end. But it looks like we have a second person at this race, and virtual safety car thrown out.
I think it might be a safety car, actually. I can see the yellow dot on the mini-map. Just going up towards Mirabeau now. I believe it is a full course safety car. So this is going to...
There we go.
There we go, yes. Confirmed in the top left. This is definitely the time, though, for someone to get onto a set of hard tyres, I feel. You've got to take your chance while you got it. The hard tyre runners can't pit under this safety car. They can't take a set of mediums 27 laps, surely. So this is the time to come in if you are on those medium tyres, which our leading duo are Dasher on the hards, Sierra Doodle on the hards, as is Alpha and Mad Dog. It's not going to help them. Will Matimumu come in? Yes, he does. Yeah, I think that's the correct decision there.
It also came out when they were halfway across the lap already. So, let's say, for example, let's say if Geek was a little bit more, behind, and the safety car came out before he got into the last corner onto the start straight, then that really could have played there. But because it happened on the opposite side of the circuit, everyone's had a chance to come into the pit lane. So everyone's going onto those hard tires now, with the exception, I think that right, Mad Dog hasn't actually gone for a pit stop, so getting the track position now. But this means that everyone is going. This is going to be their final tires, and it's lap 13. So we've got, what's that, 27 laps in total?
26 laps left.
Yeah, 26.
Yeah.
So that is going to be a very, very long time with those tires.
Yeah, and I worry for these guys that have chucked the medium tyres on. I wonder if they're thinking about a 2-stop now, like you said earlier, because to get to the end on those mediums is going to be a tough ask. This is, it's the safety car. It looked like Matimumu was overtaking the safety car there. Got very close to the wall on the right-hand side. But yeah, Geek is not going to be overly pleased with what's happened in front, because now Dasher has those fastest tyres, but he's going to have to manage them throughout this stint now if he isn't doing a 2-stop. And I think it's going to be a big ask. Mad Dog bit the bullet and did decide to stay out on the hards. He could try and extend that and maybe go to softs later in the race if he did manage to save a set from qualifying. So we've got an interesting strategic battle that's been thrown up now. Matimumu, Joe, Geek and Charlotte, you'd expect to be going to the end 100% on those hard tyres, barring any casualties in the wall. And these medium runners, it's going to be interesting to see what they decide to do, because I'd say it's a little bit 50-50 at the moment, whether you try and stick it out or go for that second stop.
Yeah, I mean, Mad Dog's really trying to gamble on another virtual safety car or safety car, primarily a safety car, happening out later in this race to get that undercut, that secondary undercut working. I'd say to you right now, I mean, the things that I've been looking at, if you look right now on your track map, you can see that SJ and Perkins are still going around to get to the queue. Perkins as well, luckily pitting before the safety car overtook, or else would have another lap on top to unlap people again. So it means that we are going to see, drivers relatively in the right place. I'd love to know actually whether or not SJ has to go round again. I don't know if, because you'd think, wouldn't you, you'd get lapped by Perkins if you're not careful.
Well, I fear for him a little bit because you can see there he's on soft compound tyres, so he's obviously used his 2 sets of mediums and the hard tyres. So yeah, running out of dry tyres, I wouldn't recommend switching to the inters or wets at any point unless the rain does start to come down. So that's not ideal. But yeah, I think we're going to see some gaps forming, especially the top 7. I know there's only 9 runners left, but the top 7 have looked quite a lot quicker than the guys behind. I know that those guys got caught up in a first lap instant, but they have looked a lot faster. So if there is going to be a chance to go for a second stop, there is going to be the track space to do it. So it's going to be whether you want to roll the dice.
I'd love to know how many penalties can you accumulate before you get black flagged? Because I feel like there is actually a black flag limit in this game.
Yeah, he's getting pretty close. I feel like 21 seconds is probably the maximum we're going to see before the black flag disqualification comes out. But yeah, getting pretty close. He's got to try and get Raskas right. I know I sound like a bit of a broken record. Got to brake earlier. It's a very difficult corner to spot the apex because it is almost a double apex corner in a way, because it sort of kinks over to the left and then jags back round to the right. So it's a very tricky corner to get right. But yeah, maybe just got to take a little bit more care through there because he's been in the wall on the outside a few too many times for his liking.
Also, as well, for the people who are on medium tires right now, every lap that goes by, and if you think about it, every lap that goes by, the tire wear is higher on the medium tire compared to your hard tire. So this means that people on mediums right now are thinking, God, I wish I had a hard tire right now, because every lap you're going through, that advantage you get from having fresher tires is going off more and more and more, and it's not going to be the best fun, as we're going to be seeing a little bit of understanding between the drivers where they're supposed to be.
I think SJ will get let back through. Oh, maybe not actually, because the safety car's in this lap. So I've spoken a little bit too soon there. What I do want to say before we get going, though, is I'm surprised we didn't see more people save a set of soft tyres, because the flexibility that could give you is really going to set up this race. Safety cars are going to come. You've got 2 sets of medium still. You've got your hard tyres left as well. That's what's happened with those guys that started on the hards. They've sort of limited themselves with the strategy that they can go for.
Yeah, and we're going to be seeing Matty Mumu backing up all the drivers as they're going into the swim pools. We go into our first one, into Sander Vott, and it looks like he's already got a comfortable lead already with Mad Dog. Mad Dog is on the much older hard tires, so you're going to see a lot of drivers behind looking to try and see if they can get some positions here. So right now, Matty Moom is always just using Mad Dog as a bit of a buffer so that, the other runners who want to be competitive, we're seeing a little bit of wiggle out there from Geek going into the Mirabeau section there and going into the Lewis hairpin. Oh, God, it looks like pain in the ass as they're trying to get through here, as the drivers are just trying to, how can I say, give enough space for themselves so they can get through the corner, but they're gonna still be keeping nice and close, as Perkins looks like will be getting the 7th position from CRM. Let's see if she can keep that for now. But it looks like right now Matty Mumu has already got a comfortable lead, over 2 seconds already, and it's not even been a lap yet.
This is the ideal scenario if you are the race leader. Matty Mumu is going to be absolutely loving this. Mad Dog backing all of his rivals up because he's on those hard tyres that he started the race on. Joe Dasher going to be getting so frustrated as Matty Mumu sets the fastest lap as well, just to rub salt in already gaping wounds. Gap's nearly up at 4 seconds after this first lap. This is this is the strength of having those brand new tyres, but Joe not able to use them to get past the Williams thus far.
Yeah, it looks like drivers are going to be starting to try and settle themselves in, as it looks like CRM has got some damage and have to go back into the pits. Not something they wanted to do, as they are incredibly out of position from when they saw in qualifying, and this is going to be horrific for their race.
I wouldn't actually be that surprised, depending on how long Mad Dog stays out for, if Doodle manages to catch up to the back of this pack. He's had pretty decent pace this weekend, obviously qualified in third as Joe into the Nouvelle Chicane having a look, but thinking better of it. But yeah, Mad Dog on these... Oh, as Geek has gone off the road there and picked up a 3-second penalty.
Is that already 5 seconds I can see already between first and second?
I think it might be 6 seconds.
Oh my goodness me! Talk about a buffer. Mad Dog is literally trying to fight for their life, and in doing so, Matty Moon was like, right, I've got almost a free, I've got a free undercut position if a safety car comes out, because usually it's about 5 seconds less if you have like a virtual safety car or a safety car when you're pitting, but he's only got 6 seconds already. Oh, God, for how many laps this is going to run, this could potentially be incredibly valuable for Matty.
I think Matty owes Mad Dog one here, because this is probably going to win in the race, only halfway through. But it could get so severe that if we get up to a 20-second margin, and judging by the pace we're going at the moment, that isn't too far away, Matty Moomin might be coming in for a set of soft tyres later in this race to confirm that fastest lap. But yeah, this is quite the helping hand he's getting at the moment. Obviously, you've got to have that track position in the first place, which he did, as I think we've got another virtual safety car, but I don't know what for.
Just looking there, looks like SJ has gone back into the pits again. How many wings do we have to kick off?
How many
We
stops
now
is
have had
this?
fourth one. This is a fourth wing, I think.
Got a stop-go penalty as well for his troubles, so this is not the
no.
best race, it has to be said. Onto another set of soft tyres that were used in qualifying. If we can get up how many stops that is, actually, that would be... I think that might be 7 stops! Oh, no!
Oh my! 7 stops!
It's going to come out into traffic as well, as everyone gets very close. Does actually a pretty decent job of getting out of the way. Spat out of the pit lane into the path of oncoming cars. But yeah, that's averaging a pit stop once every couple of laps, which is... I know it's Monaco, but that's not quite what you want to be doing, as we are racing again as we reach the halfway point. The gap at the front, as it looked like he went into the wall straight away again. This is Joe's best opportunity down the inside at Mirabeau. Has he managed to get it done? Not a lot of space for Mad Dog on the left-hand side, and actually has to back out of it. Joe has finally got that place, and it could be like... could start dropping like a stone, to be honest, now, Mad Dog, if the cars behind who are on medium tyres, with the exception of Geek, can try and get through. It's been 4 or 5 laps coming. Joe just hasn't managed to get that position done. But the damage has been done now, as Dasher, I think, is getting this position now into the Nouvelle Chicane. I think Mad Dog's starting to give up on these fights a little bit more. 9 seconds the gap, though. That's going to be almost impossible to overhaul.
Do you like if that virtual safety car came out a little bit closer to the pits? It would have been fantastic for Mad Dog to finally get themselves get themselves a pit stop to get off these tires. It's been going for 18 laps already, and now that we got the faster drivers coming through, we are going to be seeing these drivers starting to be unleashed, starting to get some comparable lap times against Matty Mumu, as Matty Mumu's got a 9-second lead on Joe. This is humongous.
Oh, Geek playing with fire again, going through Massenet. Sorry to cut in there, but
let's go. That's fantastic.
Absolutely sending it up the inside. Mad Dog, has to be said, doing a really good job on these tyres. There goes the fastest lap from Doodle. Said he was going to have pace on those new medium tyres. Yes, he's just demonstrated that there. Dasher got through on the previous lap. Geek just needs to be a little bit more patient here, because he's trying to force the issue at the moment, which is not the way you want to go around Monaco.
I think Geek is driving a little bit frustrated. This race has not been good. It's a dive into the Nouvelle Chicane, getting it done there, and Mad Dog has been sent down to 5th place. Geek does have that time penalty in play, but that is fantastic for Geek's play. This is finally some good news. Geek's been needing some good news all race.
Is the 3-second penalty, I don't think is going to make too much difference anymore, to be honest. But the gap in front Joe not making any inroads on Matimu, and it's actually Dasher on the mediums who is closing up. He's got to think about his tyres, though. Geek is not out of this for a podium finish, because if Dasher's tyres drop off dramatically towards the end, which, let's be honest, we are expecting. I mean, look at Mad Dog. Mad Dog has done a brilliant job, but those hard tyres are now 21 laps old, and they're really starting to struggle. Think of what 26-lap-old medium tyres are going to be like. Not very enviable at all. Geek's very much in this for a podium still.
I think with, Geek's position, I mean, if you want to get a podium with a 3-second time penalty, you need a bit of time buffer, and I feel that's going to come through a combination of two factors: whether or not this is going to be a one-stop or a two-stop race, and whether or not the softs can come into play. Because if you can get that that time differential between the hards and the softs on, then you can get that distance, get that difference. Because in the end, yes, Geek might get through Dasher, but he has to make the distance. He has to get away from Dasher to have a chance of actually claiming that third place position.
He does. That's very true. Got to get the move done. But Dasher at the moment has got the legs over Geek for the time being with that tyre advantage, medium compared to hard. But I would expect that to flip over as we get later in the race. This is Alpha on the back of Mad Dog. Mad Dog doing a very good job. Those tyres are extremely old at this point. You'd be expecting, well, they're going to be what Matimu's tyres are like at the end of the race. So he'll find out how difficult it is to drive with extremely worn hard tyres around Monaco. It's probably going to be a little bit like driving in the rain, it must be said. So doing a very good job. I wonder if he's just holding out maybe for another safety car at this point. Wilson leaving the session retired on the opening lap. But yeah, I think the strategy now will be try and go as long as possible, wait for a safety car, and then bolt on a set of red soft tyres to have a blast and maybe try and claim the fastest lap.
Mad Dog really got to be frustrated a little bit here as they're going down the order. They have to be praying, as it looks like a lot of curb being taken into Nouvelle Chicane. But these tires have been on for a very long time, and they're not going to be helpful, especially in those traction areas, as Alpha is wanting to usher Mad Dog into the corners, pushing them along, trying to find a little bit of an angle there. Looks like getting a little bit there. There's going to be going close, but pushing out Alpha wide going into the final corner there. But, he is going to have DRS. He's going to be keeping nice and close. And God, Alpha wants to be getting through. He has the speed difference, but he just kind of cannot get through, as it looks like he had a... Please, let's tell me SJ went back in the pits again.
I think he may have just done.
No.
So that's number. Is that 9 now? Oh no,
9.
We're going to be getting to double digits soon. They're going to be running out of front wing surely at this rate. But great side-by-side action between these two. Mad Dog on very old tyres compared to the new-ish mediums now for Alpha. Amazing. They didn't find the barrier, either of them, coming through Anthony knows. But yeah, not an enviable situation. SJ, not a particularly enviable scenario for him either. The gap at the front is now 12 seconds. Matty Moon will definitely be thinking about that stop for softs later on if he can continue to extend this margin. And Joe is now going to have to switch his attention to the car behind rather than chasing down his teammate in front, who has to be said, in a league of his own at the moment.
Matty Mumu's got 12 seconds. We've had green light running for about 10 laps now, has made over 12 seconds. That is incredible pace difference.
The consistency as well, as I think Alpha's coming into the pits. Got a gap behind, to be honest, so might as well roll the dice, go on to another set of mediums, I believe this is going to be, and try and get that undercut on Mad Dog. Going to have to overtake Doodle, I believe, who is going to go through a roundabout now, yeah, so has dropped a couple of places, but Mad Dog has to pit again, so this might be the strat to try and get that place one and done.
I mean, just for perspective, Matty Mumu's just going through the Nouvelle Chicane, and everyone else is at trying to remember the name of it, Portier. That's quite a bit of distance away. Think about it.
Yeah, it's nearly a whole sector, in fact, the difference between Matty Mumu and the trio behind, who have pulled away 8.5 seconds now from Mad Dog. And like we said earlier, we're starting to see these gaps form between our drivers. You can see Geek is now closed up to the back of Joe and Dasher as well. And judging by how he's approached this race, I would not be at all surprised if we see a bit of a lunge down into the Nouvelle Chicane in a few laps' time.
Geek needs to find some sort of situation where he can get the advantage on Dasher. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I really feel that this is going to be more of a game of actually whether or not another tire comes into play. We've got 14 laps remaining, but Geek has had 10. It's about 10, 11 laps of running here. Green flag running, and yes, Dasher is he's within a second, so there is a chance. DRS is not as powerful, it looks like. We haven't even seen too many overtakes into Sandervots here. But honestly, it's just down to whether or not there's going to be another stop in this. And we'll know that when it comes around about 27 to lap 30. That is going to be, as we're going to be seeing cross the pit exit line.
SJ's been in again.
Oh, 10 times in 25 laps. And we've about 5 or 6 of them haven't been ran. So nearly once every other lap, there has been some damage. I commend for keeping going, but my goodness, how many front wings do we have to kill?
I mean, think about the poor workers having to build all these front wings. They are not going to be enjoying this at Alfa Romeo Sauber.
I think the fans will be happy to get a load of carbon fiber, but not a fan if you have to sweep it up afterwards.
Get some broken bits on F1 Authentics.
I think as we see some broken bits.
we're not going to see any more pit stops from SJ because he is in the wall through the Nouvelle chicane, and Mad Dog's gone as well. I wonder if this is going to be a safety car. That epic stint from Mad Dog has just ended in the barriers through Casino Square. No safety car currently, as I thought his car wasn't going to ghost, and Doodle was going to be in a head-on collision with a Williams facing backwards, but thankfully.
It's green
flag. The car
did
get out of the way, and we are green flag, so the cars have been removed. Maybe we've run out of safety cars. I wouldn't be at all surprised if we had. I'm not sure how many we've had, but yeah, that's another 2 gone.
Yeah, just for perspective, Geek was on the harder tire. I mean, Dasher was also on this as well. So both of them could have taken this, but Geek has to take the gap difference, had to get that differential in speed. So soft tires would be at play. He's 22 seconds behind CRM Doodle. So I wish I had the data next to me. In ACC, I have data that I can go. Yeah, they're a pit stop gap. They could go for it, but there was an opportunity there for soft tires to come about, get that speed difference, and really push it to Dasher. But because of no safety cars, no virtual safety cars, it means that this fight is close. But Geek is, he's still stuck behind Dasher.
Totally agree. I think it's a free hit at the moment, really. Obviously, Geek will know from the MFD whether he's got the time in hand to make that stop. But I think if it gets to 24, 25, might as well go for it. You haven't got anything to lose, and you'll probably catch them back up by the end of the race. This is an interesting looking battle though between Doodle and Alpha. Alpha's already had a bit of a tete-a-tete with Mad Dog, who is unfortunately no longer in the race. But I thought he was going to have a look down the inside, coming through the right-hand curve of the tunnel, and Doodle's going to have to go defensive here into the Nouvelle chicane. Doesn't give him a lot of space on the right-hand side, and Alpha actually has to cut across the corner and gets a penalty. I feel like that may end up being removed after the session for avoiding an accident. Doodle, we've said a number of times, has been christened the Minister of Defence, so he's got to put that defensive skill on showing for the next 11 laps or so.
Hopefully the Sergio Perez without the potential woes that he can have. So CRM is going to be trying his absolute best to keep Alpha behind. I think Alpha as well has slightly newer tires, which is going to be helping in the grip difference as it hits the barrier. CRM going in all places, and that is not going to be helping the aerodynamics of that car, as damage is going to be around the place, potentially on those sideboards on that floor, not the places you're going to be needing, as you're going to be needing everything you've got going through the Principality.
This is going to be a nice little scrap for the final 10 laps or so, because Alpha on, I want to say much fresher tyres. I think 10 lap newer tyres or so. We've got it there, 7 lap newer tyres, so pretty close. That's going to be significant, especially with the new tyre model on this game. He's going to have a lot more pace than CRM Doodle. This is actually helping Geek in front because Doodle's having to concentrate on defending. So Geek has now got he's definitely got the margin to come in and put some soft compound tyres on. He is going to be looking forward, though, because the gap to Dasher is only, well, it's a third of a second right now. He's very close as they go up the hill through Beaurivage and Massenet. But, yeah, Dasher's tyres will now be starting to feel pretty average as we get to 17 laps or so on a set of medium tyres. That's always Doodle gets very out of shape coming out of the final corner. Is this going to be Alpha's chance? He moves back over to the right-hand side. Alpha to the left. Can he go around the outside? Doodle goes over the curb. Was there enough space? I think there might have been. They're going to continue to squabble going up the hill. This is great racing, I fear, and it may end up in a crash at some point. Both taking it very nicely through Massenet, and that is a very nice overtake from Alpha to move up into 5th. Very commendable work from both of them not to end up with any damage or another yellow flag, because we've seen quite a few of them. So yeah, Alpha finally getting in front of Doodle and doing it in style as well.
Beautiful coming through Massenet, taking the corner. I mean, you got to think, CRM had potential damage coming out of what was Sandoval, and Alpha knowing that, taking that line as possible, overtaking, and it looks like CRM had to give it up, especially that 3-second time penalty. It means now that CRM has to kind of concede that position a little bit, as CRM's going to be in their own race as potential damage is hindering their lap time, and we'll see in the later next few laps how much it really is hindering. But fantastic overtake, probably the overtake of the evening.
One Red Bull on the defence, the other one firmly on the attack now. We saw Geek having a look around the outside of Sandevot. Couldn't quite get far enough alongside, but I think the tyre advantage has now flipped in favour of the hards, although Dasher keeping up pretty nicely with Joe. The gap between the two Mercedes has opened up by another second, nearly 13 seconds now, as Dasher picks up a 3-second penalty. That's the motivation that Geek's going to need, because he's going to be... they're on a level playing field now, both with 3-second penalties, and nothing to lose, as very out of shape is the McLaren going through the swimming pool section. Geek, is he going to have a look down into Raskas? Has to try it around the outside, can't quite do it. Can he set it up for the run with DRS down into Sandevot? We'll see as we can try and go on board. Both of them got DRS. Will Dasher go defensive? You'd imagine he does, both using battery, and Geek can't actually get the run that I was expecting. So Dasher probably burning some ERS there, holds on to 3rd, but that was a very hairy moment.
Yeah, Dasher really trying to push to keep themselves going into Massenet. He's going to try and take what Alpha move. It's hit the barrier. No.
He's got through. Geek has got through. I don't know if there was contact. We were sort of blocked off by the barrier. It looked clean enough. I don't know if there was some banging wheels or banging into the barrier, but Geek has finally got that place and can now set his sights on Joe in front, who has lost another second, in fact, to Matimumu in the last lap. Matimumu completely in control of this race. It's like watching Max Verstappen. Well, Max Verstappen is definitely not going to be driving for Mercedes anytime soon, so a little bit unrealistic there. But yeah, a very commanding performance. Dasher will be trying his hardest to get this place back from Geek, because this is for a podium. But I think those medium tyres are going to be screaming out to be changed. And maybe the strategy now is to come in, but there's only 8 laps to go. So can he make up what's going to have to be 3 seconds a lap on Geek? Feels unlikely now.
It's going to be really close there. 24 seconds to Alpha. They all have 3-second penalties, which means they're all even with each other. I mean, we were talking about, potentially, strategies to try and get Geek in the lead to get the speed difference. But now that Dasher's got the penalty as well, Geek has now a bit of reassurance in that 3rd place position. And it looks like it's not going to be contested, which is great for Geek. He's had such a hard qualifying session and race, being put further down in the field and now being elevated, making the moves on the track. And honestly, on the track, that is the hardest to overtake. Getting this 3rd place must be fantastic, being in the cockpit of that Red Bull.
Yeah, some of them have been a little bit 50-50, whether he ends up getting that place or ends up upside down. But yeah, he's done very well to get through, fight his way back through, because he's had to make those overtakes, like you said. And now podium is looking like it's in the offing. Doodle's come into the pits at the back. I wonder if there has been some contact with the barrier, as Dasher now starting to fall away from Geek out of DRS range. This might be a fastest lap attempt from Doodle, to be honest. There's nothing really to lose down in 6th. Was about 7 seconds now behind Alpha. So this is going to be the fastest lap attempt. I wonder if we'll see anyone else try it.
Yeah, this is going to be the, CRM had such a gap to Charlotte. It meant that, might as well take the opportunity and see if we can get an extra additional point while we're at it. Matty Mumu right now is not in the position to pit. 14 seconds, and looks
Oh
like
dear.
Charlotte put it into potentially in the wall there as getting blue flagged. Not something you want to be doing when there's 6 laps to go. Though, 29, was it 5 seconds against a new soft tire runner? There's not very much left in that race except from getting it to the finish line without DNFing really at this point.
Yeah, I reckon we're going to see Alpha in the pits as well anytime soon. And I believe, looking at the minimap, he is in the pits. And I'd be surprised if that isn't for a set of soft compound tyres. Charlotte's going to the back of Matty Mumu. I don't think there's any damage for the Mercedes, but that was a heart-in-mouth moment, it has to be said. And the lap cars causing a bit of chaos, as I thought Joe was about to find himself in the barriers as well. We're down to 6 now. Half of our competitors, or almost half of our competitors, have come a cropper at Monaco. But that was a sketchy moment for our race leader. That could have been, I can't remember how 50 points it is, down the drain.
Yeah, you think about it, Mick Schumacher did something very similar, getting a little bit too much of curbing going through that Lewis, what's it called? The Lewis chicane? I can't remember which one it's called. But
Swimming
that
pool.
swimming pool chicane. Because, if you get a little bit too much curb, the car can get a little bit unsettled. That car was on used tires, and you just saw the car just lost it going into that barrier. And unfortunately, it means, we're saying, like, just got to get it to the finish. And the car just went. And that is so unfortunate because Charlotte's been soldiering through this as other competitors have been losing out. And that must be crushing with 5 to 6 laps to go as CM Doodle has got what he wanted at 1:11.0. It's going to be what he needed as it goes purple and getting that additional point on his championship scorecard.
I would not be surprised if Matty Mumu just eases off a little bit in these last few laps, because that's definitely going to have spooked him. Getting hit up the rear by the Williams there. Yeah, I think he might just take it easy, try and bring this one home. I'm not sure if that's lag or if he was getting quite out of shape going through Casino Square. He's got 13 seconds in hand. Doesn't need to take any risks at this stage because the win is firmly in the bag. And just got to bring it home at this stage.
Yeah, Matty Mumu has been the one to execute, was the optimal strategy, that medium to hard tire set. And because of the overall pace that Matty had in hand, it has meant that, a comfortable 13 seconds was definitely helped a little bit by Mad Dog, just a little bit. But it means that Matty Mumu is coasting to the end. He was let off a little bit as, it's going to be one of those that's just got to be nice and clean in that very nice looking black Mercedes. Looks very nice actually under the low lights of Monaco at night.
If Dasher can hear me right now, I would be imploring you to come into the pits because you've got 35 seconds ahead of Alpha. That is a free fastest lap point for you, which I don't think you're going to get on those ruined medium tyres that are. What is that? That's going to be 23 laps old, and almost. I mean, I must be some kind of fortune teller.
I think you ushered him in a little bit.
Yeah. I think we might see everyone do this, to be honest. But that is the fastest lap battle. I think is going to commence now. Is it still Doodle? I wonder if Alpha managed to take it because he did come in for a set of soft compound tyres as well.
Yeah, I mean, you had so much gap. I mean, honestly, I would have probably. I mean, this is me being me, but I would have probably done it around about lap 38 to make sure that it would cover off Geek actually doing it now, because now Geek can actually go into the pits and do it himself. So we're going to see whether or not Dash's gamble is going to help. Remember that you are giving yourself a bit more of a risk by doing the fastest lap because you are trying to push for it. It's a 1:11.0. That's where the flagpole has been placed by CRM Doodle. It's time for the other drivers to see if they can give it a shot, as Dasher is going to be going on basically an outlap with his new soft tires and setting them up and going for the fastest lap. So this is going to be interesting, I think, because Geek could also try and go in as well. He is 2 seconds behind Joe,
I
so it
actually,
is stopping Joe for doing it, but it is an extra point, so it's how much they want to gamble on it.
I actually think Geek may have made a mistake. I don't think he's got the margin anymore to come in anyway, but yeah, he was about half a second behind the Mercedes of Joe. Now dropped back to 3 seconds. Maybe he's just conceded that he's not going to get that place, but yeah, it looked like he made a bit of a mess, and if he's got front wing damage, Dasher is a dead set certain to get this fastest lap, as we're going to ride on board now. Hasn't got too much battery as we go through the first sector. It'd be nice to see what the sector time is as we go down into Mirabeau, and he's half a second up on his previous best. I'm not sure if that's purple or not, but we'll see by the end of the lap. You can see, look at the time going down. Now he's found, was that 8 seconds since he's come out of the pits on Geek in just under a lap and a half, so it was definitely the right decision. If this pace continues from Geek, and if he has got front wing damage, the McLaren could be very close by the end of the race and could be putting pressure on once again for third place as we go through the Nouvelle chicane. Clip the sausage curb a little bit too much on the inside, but matters not because he's got through it safely, through to back, down into 4th millimetre perfect on the exit there, 6.5 tenths up now, and I think this is going to be the fastest lap of the race, flying through the swimming pool section and up to Raskas. People have been struggling through here all day. That's neat and tidy from Dasher through Anthony Nose and onto the pit straight. Is this going to be fastest lap? Moment of truth. It is not.
Oh no, that's not what Dasher wants to be having, unfortunately. And I think what you just said, Geek's gone back 6 seconds in the last 2 laps. Something horrible has happened there, and it meant now that Geek cannot cover, going for that fast lap, going for that additional points.
Half a front wing. You just see it as he's coming through Portier there. He's got no left-hand end plate, I believe. Can't quite see it from the camera angle, but he must have had a brush with the barriers, said hello to one of the many walls around this track, and yes, you can just see there he's got no left-hand side of that front wing as Matti Mumu starts the final lap, or it might be the right-hand side actually.
Yeah, I mean, we saw what happens when you lose a little bit.
Side.
Yeah, it looks like you saw that with Perkins when they lost their front wing, and in the end, it led to them crashing out the race. So Geek needs to keep it nice and tidy. You haven't got the pressure of someone trying to hunt you down behind. It is important now that you just get it to the end of this race, as just for perspective, as we're going in. So Dash was just across the finish line, and Matti Mumu is into back. Portier, sorry, I keep mixing those two up. It's because they're both corners, but. Oh dear, there's so many of them, but honestly, just talking about it now, I mean, Dasher is probably going to try his best to see if he can go for another attempt. I don't have timings on me, but usually when you have gone for your fastest lap and you haven't got it, it's probably not going to be seeing one. Well, not going to be getting another one. Is we're going to be seeing Matti Mumu come through the last final corners, keep it nice and clean here, as they are going to be powering it through, and that is going to be going across the finish line as Matti Mumu wins Monaco.
Utterly dominant. Didn't put a foot wrong. Had a hairy moment a few laps ago with a lap car. But yeah, that's the complete performance, has to be said. Joe comes home in second in the end under no real pressure from Geek, who did have that tangle with the barriers. But it is going to be a podium, and after all the trials and tribulations, it's been a very different session for Geek compared to Matti Mumu. Matti Mumu's had it all his own way, been very smooth sailing. Geek has had some issues, but I think he'll be pleased to end up on the podium. Dasher ending up in 4th, didn't get the fastest lap. And here are our final 2. They've done very well to keep it out of the barriers because we have lost 5 cars over the course of the last 39 laps. Is Doodle going to be able to get in front of Alpha? I doubt it, barring any disasters out of the final corner. You can see the ERS light flashing. Alpha home in 5th, Doodle 6th, and that is your Monaco Grand Prix at night.
We can relax now. And
yes.
I think for Alfa Romeo, they can relax giving any more wings out, unfortunately. So, my goodness me, Matti Mumu winning in such domination, with Joe keeping it nice and clean in second place, and Geek My goodness, Geek has had to go through the absolute pain of getting through every driver he could to get the last place in that podium. He would be, I bet you he feels exhausted, but rewarding in the end.
Yeah, I think Dasher is, damned if you do, damned if you don't. If he didn't come in for fastest lap, I think he would have been disappointed. I know he didn't get it, and Geek did end up hitting the barriers, and Dasher probably could have got that podium if he stayed up. But I think, he probably made the right decision in the end. That's what I would have done as we cut back to our faces now. But yeah, a very, very good race, especially for Monaco.
I mean, Monaco is one of those where like, oh, we're not going to see that much racing coming out here, but because of the strategy that's in play, because there's so much importance on track position, it means that drivers are keeping nose to tail, trying to trying to wait for a mistake, and that means that people do think a lot about the strategy, and that's what we have to think about going into this race, and it was fantastic to see, and honestly, you know a lot of drivers did struggle. We had a reasonable attrition rate. Did expect that many, and SJ having so many wings lost. I think that's definitely going to be up there as one of the most interesting things I've ever cast. But fantastic win coming up for Matty Mumu.
Yeah, I think if this was real life, the cost cap would be looking a little bit shaky for Alfa Romeo. It must be honest, but yeah, a really, really interesting one. I do actually want to ask some people why they didn't choose to start on the soft tires, because you're expecting a safety car to come out. I think I'm not as good as these guys, but I think that's probably what I would have chosen to do, just because it gives you the flexibility. But who am I to question Matty Mumu, who won by nearly 13 seconds and absolutely dominated that race?
Yeah, you really got to think about, this track isn't the most energy intensive track in the world. You're not really pushing the tires as hard as something, just for the very opposite, like something like Silverstone or something. So, you know, you'd think soft tires, you can make these things run as long as possible until a safety car comes out. If you think a safety car is going to happen, you got to think why did we not see them? But it did mean that we saw drivers really get to show how good they are in those long distance, long range sort of ordeals with the tires. And yeah, when we did see the soft tires, we saw fastest laps, and CRM taking that fastest lap, yeah, from Matty Moo must be a bit of fun, a little bit of salt to rub into the wound of not having, fast in qualifying, fast in the race and the win as well. But you always gotta have someone to ruin it for you.
I don't think he'll be too disappointed, let's be honest. He's won by nearly 13 seconds around Monaco and absolutely stormed it. So, yeah, I don't think he'll be too upset. We're getting ready for interviews, though, very shortly. Anything you'd like to ask them? Should we preface this now?
I think probably a lot of the strategy, especially at the front, was very much, what you would expect, that one-stop strategy. We saw with the tire graphic, it was that one-stop strategy that was the way to go. You know, the only thing I could really say was, if Geek was, playing with that, would how did it feel having that 3-second time penalty and Dash did not for quite a considerable amount of time? And honestly, you know, how much were they pushing to the limit? I'd love to know what actually the limit was and how much they were pushing.
Yeah, I think for a lot of people, it's probably more of a race of survival, to be honest. I know we ended up with 5 retirements, but yeah, it was quite the occasion.
Yeah, I think that one's going to go down as one of the more interesting ones. I think the most that I'm going to remember it for is the amount of front wings we lost.
Well, I think I'd actually like to find out how many stops it was for SG. I think it might have been. I think it was 10, which must be a record.
I've never seen 10 pit stops in a race. I watch ACC. We race for an hour straight, and you're like, I've never seen 10 of them.
Crazy. But that's the challenge of Monaco, and it is the most difficult track in the world, I would probably say. You might, being more of a GT racer, you might want to disagree with that, but I think that is
I
That's
don't
the
like
draw of
Monaco.
Monaco.
I don't like Monaco. Like, and it's a very, when the F1 drivers are on it and cool, they are the top drivers and they can drive minivans through Monaco and be okay. But GT tracks, yes, they are smaller, but at least that they can, they can still drive around them. They are built more like road cars that have been made into race cars. These are purpose-built race cars, and they are massive. And I do say, if you ever get a chance to see these F1 cars in real life, they are massive. So to park them through and get them through Monaco is incredibly impressive.
Yes, it is. I think we should get ready for our interviews with our top three, and we'll go in reverse order like we normally do. So we'll bring Geek in first to talk about his eventful race, I think is the best word to describe it, which we'll get sorted in a couple of moments' time. Speaking of which, here is Geek. How are you, my friend?
I am just sweating bullets right now. I disconnected as well just before going into the interview prep room. So I didn't know what was going on.
Hmm.
I am
I don't.
massively.
It was an eventful evening race. I think that's probably the best way to sum it up. Some interesting overtakes in there, some beautiful overtakes as well. How would you summarize it apart from sweaty?
Apart from sweaty, very nerve-wracking.
Mm.
No, yeah, just qualifying wise, I really screwed up. And the final push lap I went to do, for some reason my frames dropped midway through Sandevot and it put me into the barrier. So I lost half of my wing and only gained 3/10 when in reality I could have pushed for a 109. So not ideal. The start was good. It was just that everyone else seemed to have like really good starts as well, and Doodle wanted to defend positions, so it's Monaco. You also can't really overtake too much. The safety car came out and risked going onto the hard tires. Both tires felt great during the stints, but yeah, Mad Dog didn't pit. Massey gained like 20 seconds. He was clear into the distance. So really, my race today was just with Dasher and Joe, and yeah, just silly mistakes at the end. I might have been able to get past Joe and outdo the 3-second penalty for P2, but yeah, just silly mistakes cost me my wing. And funnily enough, I lost sound for the final 2 laps of the race. I have no idea what on earth happened there, but that happened, as well as force feedback on the final lap.
Oh dear.
And then obviously I get disconnected from Discord, so the universe is out for me. It doesn't want me on this podium.
I do actually want to ask, considering you were out of position on the grid, was there any ever consideration to start on softs?
Honestly, not at all really. Like just after a quali lap itself, the softs were 3-4% worn, so that and then just banking on an early safety car or VSC and going to the hards to the end, I might have just been caught up in traffic. And I'll be honest, I didn't really do too much practice for this race. If anything, I literally just made the setup and, really knuckled down hard today because I was struggling a lot. No, just softs were an unknown, but mediums and hards I knew, and they felt great. So yeah, I'm glad I went with the strategy I went with.
I was going to ask, really, when you had Dasher behind and you had the 3-second time penalty and he didn't, like, how did for you? How did it feel? Did you feel like you had to pit another time, or did you literally just have to wait for a mistake from him?
No, I knew for a fact those mediums were just not going to be as good towards the end. We can see in the tire graph before the race begins, and they were just dropping off a lot harder than the actual hard tires. Yeah, so really it was just playing the waiting game, wait for a mistake. My hards came to life at the very end, and then sent it into the casino square. But yeah, that's my main concern about penalties for that, because from my point of view, I was alongside. I went up, and then we just banged wheels. But whether a report is made for it, I don't know. But yeah, just from my POV, I don't necessarily know what more I could have done to really avoid that, because there's a wall to my left.
Well, you provided some very good action around Monaco, which is always appreciated, and a nice podium to finish it off as well. So well done.
Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate it a lot.
Thank you. So that was Geek, third place finisher, and now we will bring in. We'll get ready to bring in our two Mercedes drivers, starting off with our runner-up, which will be Joe. If we can get him in. Joe, hello. How are you? How was 39 laps around Monaco for you?
It was really boring. I'm sleepy.
Yeah, you didn't quite have the. I think Mike's almost dying next to me. You didn't quite have the adventures that some of the other people did you?
Nah, it was great. It was like time trial on hards, as Matty would say. Um,
Well-
I've never gone around Monaco and said, "Wow, this is boring."
well, there was
Well,
nothing going on.
That's true. Well, there was quite a lot going on behind you, it must be said. I think the bit of action we can talk about is after the safety car with Mad Dog. What was it like trying to get past him?
Oh, that was a bit scary, actually.
Oh dear.
I got past eventually. Very, very nicely. Not wasn't a sin. It was lovely. Yeah. He was just on dead tires, so weren't too bad.
I'd say to you, you were in a bit of a kind of a nothing land because you had a little bit of buffer to behind, and then you had, because of the whole Mad Dog situation, you got put, before you got past, it was like 10, 11 seconds. So, how did that really feel being behind Mad Dog for so long after that safety car restart?
Yeah, I mean, like, objectively, Matty was faster during the race today, so even if I did get past Mad Dog in a timely manner and managed to stay on the back of Matty, I would never have gotten past. You just don't overtake at this place, so I would never have gotten past Matty. So, I mean, it didn't really change much for me. It just made, like, 5 laps scary where I almost committed murder. But, yeah, after that, it was just kind of a muchness. Not... Yeah.
Did you consider doing anything different with the strategy, or was it just sort of a case of Matty being a bit too far up the road, we'll just consolidate second place?
Yeah, I mean, with the safety car, I couldn't even try anything funky with the strategy. Like, I contemplated trying to undercut him at one point, but I was like, if I get caught out by a safety car, it's game over for me. I could lose out to Geek and Dasher. So I just kind of waited, and then there was a safety car. I was like, oh, right, I should probably pit then. And, that was that. 25 or 28 laps on the hards for the rest of the race. It was good fun.
Yes. Well, we're sorry if it was slightly boring at times as well, but got a nice haul of points to continue the season, and good luck for the rest of it. Well done today.
Thank you.
That's the first time I've ever had someone come in and say, "Yeah, it was really boring." That's not what I expected him to say.
I find it really hard to get through Monaco. I have to really focus. So by the end of it, I'm like, oh, thank goodness that's over. It's like, that was boring. I wish it was that easy. I wish I could say it was that easy.
Well, I think
Oh,
someone
dear.
who may have found it equally as boring because he was so far ahead is going to be the race winner, Matty Mumu. Because that, Matty, was utterly dominant.
I quite enjoyed it. It was splendid, and there's only one man I can thank, and that's Mad Dog. Yeah, I owe him something. Don't know what it could be, but yeah, all of that gap was dedicated to him. And after he retired, he clearly hired Charlotte to try and destroy me again. But we'll see how that goes.
I want to ask you about that because it was all looking very comfortable. 13 seconds in the lead, and then you come up against a lapped Williams of Charlotte, who then runs into the back of you at probably the one place you don't want to crash, which is the swimming pool section.
Yeah. So I started lap 32 or 3 or whatever it was, and Charlotte's coming up the pits. I'm like, okay, is she gonna let me pass? Nope. Good. And then I still follow her around a bit. I don't know if she did let me past, but at the hairpin I got past. But she was still sticking quite close to me, and I'm like, is this gonna go well? Next thing I know, I tried turning in for the swimming pool. I've been smacked from behind, hit into the wall, got wing damage, cut the chicane, and yes, um, my life flashed before my eyes in that moment. But yeah, thank God for the gap.
Yeah, a clear-cut brown pants moment, it must be said, I think. Yeah, you were very far in front. How was qualifying as well? Because you seem to be on the money from lap 1, really.
I'd say this is probably the track that I've put the most effort in, maybe in BUSR history, because I just know how important the qualifying would be. Spent many laps in time trial trying to get a better time, so I just knew that if I could deliver a somewhat okay lap, then it should be enough for pole position, and it was, to be fair, but I wasn't personally okay with my time, but it was enough.
So P1 never enough. No, these drivers, Max Verstappen complains all the time. It's you're never satisfied, are you?
No, there's always something you can do better, and now I understand why he does it. It's a weird feeling, but it's good.
At least you sound a little bit more happier. I mean, Joe said he was bored by the end of it, so it sounds like you had a bit of a better time.
Yeah, I had a great time having Mad Dog behind me create a 10-second gap, and then by that point on, it was just time trial on the hards, but and just try not to hit a wall and get wing damage, and it should be fine. So I also didn't have to deal with Joe's FPS issues, which he did like to remind us of constantly. So we can't say anything about that. I'm sure he had a terrible time, but yeah, it was good.
Fine. It sounds like everyone had FPS issues, apparently. Don't worry. So, well done for winning, and thank goodness you actually enjoyed this one, because it sounded like not many people did.
I think most people would do if they were in my position. So, yeah.
Oh my god.
Wow, that was a third win out of 4 races so far for you, and was probably the best of the lot. So congratulations on another win, and good luck for the rest of the season. Hopefully.
Before I go,
hello.
this is my formal announcement that I'm not racing next week. So, to all the other drivers, feel free to catch up on the sprint points, and I'll see you in Brazil.
What a place to end it. We will see you in Brazil indeed. Yeah, that is Monaco done.
I'm still not going to get over it. Yeah, let's have a look, shall we, with the results. There we go. There's some results on the board. 12-second lead in the end, and might I say, a very dominant win for Matty Mumu, with Joe getting the comfortable second place, 12 seconds behind, and then Geek just coming a little bit along with the 3-second time penalty pushing him, and a number of drivers below down getting the final podium positions.
Yes, 5 retirees. Wilson didn't get past lap 1 and actually caused a bit of a kerfuffle at Mirabeau, which we saw. GWS was towards the lower end for a lot of it. We can see there from SJ, he used, how many is that? 8 different sets of tyres with a 9-second penalty as well. And I think he had 10 trips through the pits. So a day to forget, it must be said, for SJ there.
So I wish we had the old tires, so you'd have like the proper rainbow of tires. But we just have
super soft, medium,
hyper
hard,
soft,
super hard.
hyper softs, isn't it?
Ultra soft as well, yeah.
Ultra and hyper soft. It's like, how many more words do we have to make it to sound like it's softer? Oh dear. Oh well. Thank goodness this is not in the real world, or else someone would have actually been sacked by the end of this race.
Probably. Well, some people would have created some more employment opportunities having to build all these front wings.
I don't think Sauber would be happy.
I don't think Audi will be wanting to keep SJ on when they come in a couple of years either. Yeah, Monaco done. It was as eventful as I think we thought it was going to be. And a dominant performance from Matty Mumu out front.
Yeah, and he's pushing aside, allowing some other people to have some fun.
How
As
how
next week
kind.
I know, we got to go and do our second sprint. Our last sprint will be at Suzuka, coming on to our week 5. And Suzuka, definitely one of those tracks that really encompasses what an F1 car is good at. Lots of high and medium speed corners, as well as a lot of various different types of corners as well. One of those that's very hard to get a lap hooked up with. So it'll be interesting to see how the drivers tackle it. It's one of the harder tracks, I feel, to really get it good. So it'll be fascinating to see how they will perform next week.
Absolutely. And we end in the only real place you should end a Formula One season, which is Brazil.
Yeah, it's been Interlagos is one of the best tracks in the world, and it really tells it. It's always got drama, it's always got action, and oh, so much history. And believe me, I do remember when Team McGlock thing happened, and I was like,
Oh god.
wait, Lewis wins? I do remember that. And yeah, and hopefully we'll get to see a nice finale as Matty Moomba will be trying to hook up a championship, which he notably probably will, but we'll see if some other drivers can give a little run for his money. I hope.
Yes. For the competition's sake, I think somebody needs to find a bit of pace for these last 2 weekends. Obviously, he's not here next week, but Brazil is going to be an interesting one to wrap it up from, and that is going to be us wrapping up for this evening. Monaco done, on to Suzuka next week. So from myself, it is goodbye.
Yeah, me from Mike. Have a good evening, guys, and we'll see you next week for some more BUSR action.